we are we're live. Nice. Let's get the custom tracks started. Uh eh. Man, today's gonna be today might be one of those days. We'll see. We'll see how hard I actually end up having to argue with any liberals that show up in chat, because I'm feeling particularly uncharitable towards liberals right now. Given recent turns of events. You might be wondering why I say that and not me being mad at fascists, which I am as well. I'll explain that in a bit, but first things first. All right. One player. Weemfi. Very nice. Let me know, by the way, let me know if there's a slight audio delay. If anybody is in chat right now, please let me know if there is an audio delay of any kind on the capture card. I noticed that when editing the last video, that there was a slight audio delay. Which is not ideal, but I've investigated this issue before, and I've found that there is no reliable cause for it outside of OBS deciding to be more or less cooperative on a given day. Sometimes the capture card does have an audio delay, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know exactly what causes that, but I know it isn't the card itself. I know it's an OBS thing. Because I've had it happen where the only variable is whether or not I've, like, launched OBS or had it open the whole time. Like, none of the settings have changed, it's just, for whatever reason, OBS is acting differently on a given day. So, that's liable to go wrong, I guess, but in any case. Hey, it's Maverick. We know that guy. Cool. Does Maverick follow me? I don't know. I feel like I remember Maverick having been in my chat at some point, but that could very well just be Mandela effect shit. In fact, let's go spectate them. Yeah, what's up? Rocking the trans rights Funky Kong. Well, they're not, but my custom textures are include Funky Kong wearing the trans rights shirt. Whoa, what's going on there? He's not having a great race. Happens to the best of us. It happens to everybody. This track, I feel like, hasn't held up as well as some of the other newer custom tracks. There are some janky elements of it. It's still a really good track, really fun track in my eyes. There are just a couple elements of it that are slightly unpolished and that are, like, well, you know, janky, don't quite work as intended. For example, the little logs that you can trick off of, those pose problems sometimes. Like, you can't reliably get the trick. This is a little bit scary right here. But ultimately, I think the logs are the only thing that I might change, really, as a, like, design aspect of the track. He keeps falling off there. I don't know what he's doing, what he's thinking. This turn is also a little weird. I might make that a stunt trick and not a flip trick. And then just some extra polish on the track would be in order. But you know, I find that for a lot of tracks, tracks that maybe haven't held up as well, didn't age too great, or whatever, there's one or two things that could be done with them that would fix them up very nicely and bring them up to speed with kind of the latest standards of custom track design and stuff like that. And you know, they're very not far off from providing actually an ideal race experience. Where you really start to get into trouble with the big, complex, user-unfriendly tracks, or you know, noob-unfriendly tracks, stuff like Peaks, stuff like Final Ground, stuff like the Rabbit Hole, stuff like Six King Labyrinth. Really, I think that Peaks and Six King Labyrinth should be the secret tracks, and the other really long, like, Kaizo tracks should just be removed from the pack. You know. With maybe one exception being what is it, Lava Road. I have a weird soft spot for Lava Road just because it was like so insane and cool at the time that it came out. That was like, oh my god, it's all tinted lava colors, and it's like it's one of the last breed of the long and insane custom tracks that weren't like hellishly difficult to understand the first go around. Sure, you might get hit a lot, but it was very clear where you're going. It's a different kind of difficulty that I feel like is more friendly to new players. But anyways. I don't remember what got picked. I didn't quite see. Ah, okay, this track. Skyline Avenue. Let's go. This is quite a volatile room. We got some people with 9,000 VR. We got some people with 5,000 VR, which is going to be quite something. Got me. I don't think you're supposed to trick there, but whatever. Okay. I think I'm going to save this bullet a little bit. Never mind. I, for some reason, did not see that banana around this corner. That's a really good bullet. Unfortunately, I didn't get an item afterwards, but did just about everything I needed it to do and more. Okay. I was just hoping he didn't throw that backwards and, you know, wish granted, it seems like. Best item in the game. Alright. So far, I've cleaned up my driving a lot. Oh, what's up? It's the Kill Me guy. Oh. Yeah, that was a better shot, better spot to get shocked than where I was, for sure. Okay. I don't know where to use this mushroom. I'll probably just use it here. Sure. No. Ah. I wouldn't gain very much by going backwards for an item, I think. I would lose a lot of time, but for not a whole lot of benefit. Okay. Got some mushrooms. That's good. Fourth place. I drove okay that race. Lap 1 into lap 2 was a little bit rough, but lap 3 was pretty good. let me test something. I'm going to disable the desktop audio. I don't know, I don't know if there's a sound delay. I was checking the stream audio to see if the sound delay was present. Maybe I'll do it at the end of next race. We'll see. All right. I suppose I should talk about, now that's been about 10 minutes, I'll talk about the one nugget of politics, or the one nuke of politics that is on absolutely everybody's mind, whether you're American or not, because of how integral American politics is to world affairs. The Supreme Court decision. Now, I mentioned that this decision was relevant to what I talked about last time. But I didn't have time. I didn't have the opportunity to go into detail about it because the decision actually hadn't been handed down. Which, of course, the Supreme Court, you know, they know what they're doing. They waited until the actual last day of their session to hand down this decision on the Donald Trump immunity case. I was surprised that they handed down a decision on this at all. But in retrospect, it seems all too obvious what they were going to do. Now, I had mentioned this case before, and what I thought was going to happen was, most likely, the Supreme Court was going to delay hearing it until after the election, so that Trump would have won, and it wouldn't have mattered what the outcome was, basically. But they didn't do that. They took the more brazen path that I honestly didn't expect them to take, but makes sense in retrospect, which is they just straight up ruled that Trump is above law, or to be more accurate, not specifically Trump, that the President of the United States is above the law, right? That for any act of the President that is an official act of the office, right, anything that they do in their capacity as President cannot be prosecuted. They are immune from the legal consequences of those actions. So effectively, America has a king. We just elect that king under, let's say, likely increasingly dubious circumstances every 4 years. Looking a whole lot like the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. You know. Or so I would assume from historical parallels. Okay. Third place. I drove pretty damn well. Played it safe in some areas. I think that was to my benefit. So what does this mean? This means that the conservatives have won. The conservatives have won. They are implementing Project 2025 as they will. This is the Supreme Court laying the legal groundwork for a legalistic coup d'etat for when the conservatives take power. That's, you know, the rest of Project 2025. And additionally, in the ruling that enables the president to do literally whatever they want, they said that acts such as firing federal employees would be exempt from prosecution, which is not an accident. A major part of 2025 or Project 2025 is the targeting of dissident federal employees and firing essentially anybody in the federal government that is not a fascist loyalist. You know, um, that's a really that's one really dangerous part of this, right? But then the other thing that I actually got massively frustrated at is the Democrats' response to this. Their response was basically campaign email material. The best the Democrats could come up with was, "Hey, vote for us so we can stop this." They notably did not elaborate on what they would do or why voting for them would help. And they also didn't. They didn't offer any means, any sort of urgency beyond that. They did not in any way convey the sort of urgency of the situation. They acted as though this was just business as usual. Which is like the worst possible response that they could have given. In fact, Joe Biden heard about the decision and gave a quick like 2 minute long speech after the ruling, commented on it, and basically said, "Damn, that Supreme Court ruling is crazy. I specifically resolved to not use any of the expanded powers of the presidency." Like, what the fuck? The Supreme Court just handed you unlimited power to do anything. They handed you the keys to the goddamn kingdom to potentially do a Hail Mary to, like, make a fascist takeover just a little bit harder, and Biden specifically resolved to not do that. Very cool, thank you. I'm gonna use this here. No. Okay. Ow! Fuck. Okay. I've time trialed this track, but I'm not as familiar with it on mirror mode. One green shell. Cool. Get that out of there. A mushroom, that's more useful. Ow! Fuck. Oh, they're way up there. I don't really know what I was going for with that POW. Eh. Oh well. Fuck it. Okay. This place. I didn't race that one great, but that's mostly, I think, because it's mirror mode. I really don't like the fact that mirror mode is a thing in CTGP because of how many tracks there are. Makes it almost impossible. Oh, well. Anyways. I think I'd rather not go into my raw frustration with the Democrats on this completely unprompted, because I want to have something to sort of build on or talk about specifically. It's hard for me to just go to any given thing, right? So I'm gonna go with a news article that I found from the Washington Post. If you can believe it, and you should believe it if you know anything about the the cable news and mainstream news outlets, they were all downplaying the urgency of the situation, saying like, oh, this could pose problems, blah blah blah. Washington Post has some of the best framing I've seen yet. Supreme Court's Trump immunity ruling poses risk for democracy, experts say. Now, of course, all of them have a similar framing it around Trump, when really the framing there has some issues. This is an issue not of Donald Trump, but rather of the Supreme Court and of the Democratic and Republican parties, particularly the Democratic Party. And I will get to that in a moment. But first, I will address the Republican Party and the Supreme Court. The Republican Party is a fascist party. Wow, breaking news. Nobody can believe this, right? What that basically means is that picture them as a historical advancing force of like lava or a wildfire, indiscriminately or sometimes discriminately destroying all life that it comes in contact with. It's not good. Universally a bad thing, but ultimately a predictable and reactable force of nature. This is something that is a known quantity and that responses exist for. Meanwhile, everybody who is wants to actually do something is sort of a bystander in situations such as this. Standing on the sidelines, panicking, whatever. And the Democratic Party is the fire department. Only the fire department has brought a bottle of water and nothing else, and won't even use that to put out the fire. Oh, wow. Actually made it. Nice. Nice try. So that's the Republican Party's role in all this. They are just an all-consuming wildfire of reactionary forces that crop up in response to social progress and stuff like that, and also stagnation, I should mention. The way that fascist movements sort of pop up has to do a little bit with a rejection of austerity politics in a certain way, or rather a rejection of the liberal world order, but from a social perspective rather than an economic one. Remember, fascists do the same austerity politics shit that liberals do, but fascists are better at populism and narrativizing than liberals, because phony populism is a more tantalizing prospect than no populism at all. Democrats are allergic to populism. Hell, they are allergic to the people. For the Democrats and for most liberal parties, the people are viewed as sort of an inconvenient electoral obstacle that needs to be overcome, rather than the essential lifeblood of the country, right? Oof. Almost fell off there. And it's that willful incompetence, that allergy to power and allergy to the people, that makes me say that Democrats are losing on purpose and are willfully incompetent. And ultimately, that is why liberalism produces fascism to begin with. Those are the conditions that produce fascist movements, fascist parties, and fascist countries, are the sort of abstemiousness and stagnation of liberalism, and the apathy that it generates within the people. This apathy has been generated for decades. This is not a new thing. But liberals are particularly good at this thing. They're very good at ginning up apathy, at telling people to go back to sleep. They're very good at producing the conditions that fascists thrive in. And the Democrats have had 40 years to do this. I know I said I was talking about the Republican Party first, but now let me move on to the next thing. You know, I've established that the Republican Party, being a fascist movement, a reactionary movement, is a historical force of nature, a force of all things bad. It is a wildfire that consumes everything. And the sort of liberal world order is the circumstance that produces the wildfire, if that makes sense. And because of that, they are ill-suited to put out the wildfire because they don't know how and they don't want to. Their ideological mission is one of the status quo, keeping the circumstances that produce the wildfire in the first place. Even if liberals win, they do nothing but set the circumstances even further for the wildfire to consume more and more. In an allegorical sense. Which leads me now to the Supreme Court. This is where the apathy actually plays in. I honestly thought the Supreme Court wouldn't rule on this at all, and they would just wait until after the election and give a wishy-washy kind of non-answer, non-ruling, and let Trump do whatever the hell he wanted anyways. But that apathy that the Democrats created and refused to address time and again actually enabled the Supreme Court to take it a step further. I sincerely think that the Supreme Court, if people cared more, if the Democratic Party was better at media messaging and people cared more as a result of the party being more vocal, the Supreme Court wouldn't have felt like it could get away with doing what it did. But because that apathy was there, the Supreme Court was like, well, we know that there's not going to be any institutional backlash from the Democratic Party. You know, we know that there's nothing that they can or are willing to do about this. So let's just rule that Trump is above the law, you know? Let's just rule that the president is above the law and sort of pave the way for the administrative state to be gutted and for Republican partisans to do whatever they want with government. Well, who's going to stop us? The Democrats? You know, nice meme. And they were right. They were absolutely right. You know, we all saw the response from Joe Biden that he said, this is all about Trump, did not once mention the Supreme Court in a speech about a decision made by the Supreme Court, and abdicated his own responsibility, abdicated his own duties as president by specifically resolving not to do anything. Fourth place, not bad. All right. So that's just some of my issues with the framing there, is that this is not just about Trump. This is about the Democratic Party and the Republican Party and the Supreme Court. This is the framing that Washington Post engaged in here. As good as it is relative to other media outlets, this is still the liberal-brained fascism in one man theory, where the problem is solely Trump, and if you get rid of Trump, you get rid of the problem. When in reality, you could get rid of the problem and still have Trump. You could get rid of Trump and still have the problem. The two are entirely independent of one another. It just so happens that Trump is a symptom of the broader problem. If you got rid of fascism, would Trump still be relevant? Probably not, because getting rid of fascism requires populism in order to do so. But Trump would still be doing his thing. He wouldn't go away. And if you got rid of Trump, you still have an entire Republican Party to deal with, motherfucker, including, and that includes as well, you also have to deal with the Democratic Party, because like I said, they are the circumstances that produce the fascist Republican Party that we have today. And they are thus unwilling to address those circumstances. Why would they? They love those circumstances. For them, that's the end goal. They just don't. They are so politically ineffective. They are so institutionalist that they are incapable of seeing the historical patterns of how such circumstances of liberal like stagnation produce fascism. You know, when not fascists, when Democrats talk about fascism, they don't believe what they're saying. You know, when Democrats are saying like, yeah, vote for us to fight fascism, they don't actually believe that fascism exists, because to them it's like an ahistorical thing. Like, if to them no history is possible. Fascism is a historical thing. It's not possible anymore. So you know, there's no way that it could have been produced. This must be something else. Which is why they'll say, well, a lot of stuff, but they won't really ever commit to fighting fascism in a meaningful historical or material sense. You know, the Democrats are not exactly historical materialists here. That actually works out. I didn't get a box. Unfortunate. Ow. Oh, that's a shortcut? That's kind of crazy. Fuck it. Fuck. Sixth? Okay. Yikes. That track is rough. But anyways, I've talked enough about the framing. Let's move on with the article itself, which, again, I must commend the article for what it does right, because they're referring to experts. Supreme Court's Trump immunity ruling poses risk for democracy, experts say. So it's good that they're referring to historians and political scientists and such. The court's decision raised fears that a future president will be able to act with impunity because official acts of the president have been deemed off limits from prosecution. In its immunity decision on Monday, the Supreme Court emphasized the long-cherished ideal that no one in America is above the law, not even the president. The court's dissenters and a chorus of critics said the majority had undercut that notion, elevating the president to a king who can easily avoid prosecution. They warned of future presidents unbound from the rule of law who could freely engage in criminal activity, and they pointed to the prospect for a second term for Donald Trump, the man whose indictment on charges related to his efforts to overturn the 2020 election prompted the Supreme Court to weigh in, as a moment when their worst fears could be realized. So, I still kind of disagree with this framing. This is very institutionalist here. I don't know. I hope they just quote the Sotomayor dissent, because it's like, yeah, he's just going to assassinate all his political opponents. Trump made credible threats of executing and assassinating political opponents and protesters when he was in office in 2020. You know, ginned up a crowd of, like, angry supporters that threatened to hang the then vice president, Trump's own vice president, mind you, you know, for not complying with their political objectives and such. No, I didn't get an item. I'm gonna use this mega here, I think. Yeah. That's good. I am so lucky that that went for him and not me. Wait, what? Did it not go for him? That's kind of crazy. Oh my god. Cannot believe that I didn't die there. Oh no! I got stuck in my wheelie. Crazy close last turn. If a future president sitting in the Oval Office were to want to commit crimes up to and including subverting an election or remaining in power against the will of the American people, this, in my mind, could provide a roadmap for that, said David Becker, the executive director for the Center for Election Innovation and Research. Which, that's the least of our concerns, I think. Former Nixon White House counsel John Dean said Monday that the court's ruling, had the court's ruling been enforced in the early 70s, history could have turned out very differently. As I looked at it, I realized Richard Nixon would have had a pass because the evidence against him was based on official acts the Supreme Court has deemed immune from prosecution, Dean told reporters. So effectively, this guy's saying, hey, look, if Watergate happened today, under this ruling, Nixon would have gotten off scot-free because the president is literally above the law. Dean, who became a star witness during the Watergate investigation, called Monday's ruling a radical decision by a radical court and judicial activism on steroids. Now, this is like approaching a historical perspective on this. This guy has more historical literacy in his like pinky finger than the entire liberal body politic combined in America. There is fucking, however short the social memory is in Europe, it's even shorter in the United States. You know? I had to use that there. And I didn't get a box. But... What's up, Wuxi drone pilot? The president's always been above the law. Andrew Jackson didn't face any consequences for violating court orders and doing genocide. Bush created secret detention centers beyond the reach of the U.S. Army. Libs be freaking out because Trump gets a pass as well. Well, here's the thing, right? The president has always been functionally above the law, but this actually codifies into law that the president can literally do whatever they want with no fear of any political repercussion. Initially, there's been historical inertia and the actual, at times, real threat of consequences. For example, Nixon, which was basically, I think, a once-in-a-lifetime kind of event, where, you know, the president, at least domestically, couldn't just do any and everything. They had to obey limits on their power and stuff like that. In fact, what Andrew Jackson did was like fully within the powers of the presidency to do, right? It's sort of abusing the law more so than breaking it. The famous quote is, "The Supreme Court has made the ruling, now let them enforce it," which is like, look, we're the executive branch. We're the ones in charge of enforcing the Supreme Court's ruling, right? But yeah, you know, libs are actually, in my opinion, libs aren't freaking out enough. Is the interesting thing. This is a fully like Weimar Germany parallel moment where the groundwork has been fully laid out for a legalistic coup d'état, courtesy, of course, of a court system that is hostile to democracy in its entirety. You know, it's not a Trump thing. As I was laying out earlier, this is not a Trump thing. This is a Republican Party thing, where now the administrative state has been gutted. All the agencies that are staffed primarily with technocratic, you know, nerds and sometimes experts don't have the ability to do anything good. And the president has the authority to replace everybody with party loyalists at will, as well as pursue any and all action, legal or otherwise, in name, because the courts will not only not pursue judgment, but actively rule that they are above judgment, if that makes sense. Part of what Nixon did was such a huge deal because he was taking direct extra legal action against political opponents. Very, you know, very big no-no. Liberal democracies tend to whine about that. That's like the one thing that they do whine about, particularly when it's fascists that are being subject to that, or themselves, right? Under this, Trump could literally just have everybody in the Democratic Party assassinated, and it wouldn't even be illegal. Never mind the whole, you know, not facing punishment thing. That's another discussion. It straight up would not be against the law. This is the kind of shit that enabled Hitler to take over in Germany. And I'm not saying this as a starting point. I'm saying this as an ending point. This shit was a long time in the making. And the blame in this instance is squarely on the Democratic Party for not projecting the kind of urgency needed in their media messaging. The Democrats have been playing this like business as usual for decades. All the while the Republicans are secretly, not so secretly, consolidating, mounting their political influence, taking over the Supreme Court, and sort of using that as a lever with which to disempower all of the checks and balances that would prevent a fascist uprising from being successful. All the while encouraging the civility politics attitudes in the Democratic Party by, you know, well, letting liberals be liberals, I guess, and understanding that like the barriers that the Democrats think are in place to stop the Republicans are not real barriers. Does that make sense? Basically, this happened because the Republican Party are intelligent at pursuing power, and the Democrats are incompetent at the same thing. Yeah. And of course, Democrats are incompetent by their very nature because they are liberals. I have a feeling they're going to use the shock pretty soon. Okay. Oh, I was right. Miklas512, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the stream. Ow. Hi. Welcome to chat. I need an item box. There we go. Cool. Ow. Crap. Okay. I got both me and that other guy. Oh, he drove into the bomb. God damn it. Damn. Okay. Let me continue with this Washington Post article. I was about halfway through. Or something like that. Let's see. They're just talking about, like, oh, this is, you know, this could pose problems. Again, this is not, I mean, the Washington Post is the best that I could find on this, and it still isn't great. The framing here leaves much to be desired. Oh, fuck off. Mueller, I don't know who this Mueller guy is. Yeah, here we go. University of Notre Dame law professor, Derek Mueller, bourgeois-ass fucking position, said, it definitely gives more protection to the president, but I think there are pitfalls for future administrations if they were to rely too heavily upon it. Such as, motherfucker? I don't know that I would be citing this too readily if I'm president trying to evade criminal responsibility in the future. Lib-ass take. Liberal-ass answer. What the fuck would be the consequence for relying on this? There is no consequence. That's what the Supreme Court just said. Woke CIA drone pilot, as you just said, presidents could already do a wide range of shit. The presidency in the United States is the most powerful office in the entire world. You can do a ton of shit, most of it, like, illegal, certainly against international law. You can even get away with some stuff against domestic law, but that doesn't mean you're 100% immune to consequences, right? Think back to Nixon, back when the country had any real sense of political involvement and not just this, like, political apathy-ridden hellhole, right? There are potential consequences. Prior to this ruling, there were potential consequences to acts done by the president, in a, through certain legal channels. Now, that's been entirely stripped away. And Mueller's saying, like, I don't know if I could, like, they probably won't rely on this too much, right? Like, there's got to be some consequences for that. Like, what consequences? What is the... what the fuck is the consequences to which he refers for presidents deciding, you know what, I mean, the Supreme Court has said I'm above the law, so sure, fuck it, I'm above the law. That's the entire point of the ruling. Libs are missing the point, intentionally, I might add. Well, actually, it doesn't matter whether it's intentionally or not, but I'm treating it as though it is an intention because that's systemically the position to which their ideology leads them. And then you just get, you don't just get the imperial presidency, something to which many academics are familiar with. You get straight up just a fascist dictatorship. That's what you get. It's legitimately, as corny as this comparison is to draw, it is like the Star Wars prequels. I am not joking when a lot of people both in the universe of Star Wars and outside of it who like do Star Wars analysis and whatever say that, like, yeah, the Republic turned into the Empire long before the Emperor proclaimed himself Emperor. That's kind of what's going on here. It's just now It's like the Emperor was able to proclaim himself as such with no pushback, absolutely no pushback, because the damage was already done. The liberals had performed their job, which is making way for the fascists, and now the fascists can just walk right in. Goddamn. I'm gonna get 8th, I think. Not racing great this round, but it's whatever. In fact, I think the best thing that this article does is quote Sotomayor's dissent. Even though dissents, like, I'm not gonna go on some lib shit and call the dissent powerful. It's a dissent. It has no power. That's why it's a dissent. But Sotomayor is correct to point out, and she's a legal expert. She is an expert, that this creates a law-free zone around the president. Orders the Navy SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival. Immune, she wrote. Organizes a military coup to hold on to power. Immune. Takes a bribe in exchange for a pardon. Immune. Immune, immune, immune. Kind of weird choice to, like, repeat the word immune over and over again, but, like, yeah. And obviously, I know that, you know, with woke CIA drone pilot and all the socialists in my audience, I'm going to be preaching to the choir here because we all know that, like, we all know this. This was a predictable outcome, but I really need people to understand that the Democratic Party was not and never was our ally in this. We had no allies, us being socialists, presumably. You know? And if there's anybody who's not a socialist, understand that the Democratic Party is never going to be enough to fight fascism, because fundamentally, fascism is an extent of liberalism, and Democrats are themselves liberals. It's just, fascism is just the right wing of liberalism. Liberalism has like a leftward end and a rightward end. In fact, probably the best way that I can describe it is that there were the liberal like revolutions in the 18th century and whatever, and liberalism, very new ideology, and it had like a left and right wing, and from that there were two ideological descendants of liberalism that came from that. Number one, socialism, or at least the modern incarnations of socialism, right? That is the left wing descendant of liberalism. The right wing descendant of liberalism is fascism. Oh, what happened to everybody there? Three mushrooms. Pretty good, I think. I need to stay ahead of this guy in a star. Oh, we got hit by the geyser. Huh. The majority's ruling, she said, means that presidents no longer face the same consequence everybody else does. I mean, they already didn't, but like extra super duper so now. It's like a permission slip to Republicans, fundamentally. Because Democrats already said that they're not going to use the power that this gives them. Democrats are resolute in their commitment to not wielding power, right? Meanwhile, Republicans are like, fuck it, we'll use power. Sure, we want to, you know, kill homeless people and immigrants. That's what we want to do. And Democrats are like, oh, you know, they go low, we go high. We don't need to engage with that. We don't, you know, we'll just stay the course and do nothing. What a brilliant strategy, guys. Thank you. Very cool. Roberts, in his majority opinion, said, yeah, this was a 6-3 decision, by the way. Everybody saw this coming. Said the dissenters have gone too far in saying the president is above the law. Motherfucker, you just ruled that the president is above the law. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Things are pretty bad. The United States, there have been several points at which I estimated that the United States was going to fall to fascism. I've gone back and forth on that. I think 2024 is going to be the year that happens. Probably. We'll see how cracked this room is by how many people take the shortcut. Oh, it's a lot. Okay. Alright. I got most of them after the boxes, I think. That's... Ooh. Okay, I got that guy. Oh, okay. That was a little bit close for comfort. Oh, that was a good target shock. That was really good. It got all three of the people in top 3, I think. And I'm dead. I had to avoid those green shells. Yeah. I'm gonna chain this, I think. Yeah. Something like this. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, I gotta use this. Damn. Wacky trick there. And we all got hit. But we're good. Holy shit, I didn't think that was gonna work out, but it did. Okay. No! We're both dead. Making it work. No more green shells. We're good. Nice. Nah, that route's probably not even faster, even if you have mushrooms. Okay, that was good. Good wall trick. Good wall trick. Okay. Wow, this is a cracked room if I'm getting 5th on Mushroom Peaks. Seriously, most of the time I join a Weemfi room and I'm the only one who knows how to drive Mushroom Peaks. Or like maximum 1/3 of the players in the room know how to drive Peaks. That race, everybody knew. Everybody knew how to drive Peaks. Usually I farm VR whenever Peaks gets picked. Which is a good feeling, but I also recognize that it's not a good track. You know. But yeah, I was saying that like 2024 is going to be the year that the fascists have their legalistic coup d'etat. At least now I think that. Before I still believed that it was basically inevitable that the United States became fascist because the like Like I said, fascism is a reactionary force of nature, historically speaking, and liberals are the absence of force. Liberalism is like the absence of force in response to fascism, a force of nature. You know, it's an inept status quo that in fact produces the reactionism that fascism holds essential to itself. And of course, private capital is all in the mix. Private capital, of course, is behind most of these ideological forces in some form or another, because a lot of the historical reasons why reactionary movements pop up is because of the threat of some kind of economic progress from the left. So that the business class, the capital class, doubled down on liberalism and fascism as their go-to. I didn't get an item. I actually got too low of a trick. I've never seen that. All right, well, let's keep on trucking. Ooh, the shock. Got their asses. I think. I don't know how effective that was. I was hoping to get everybody at the part where they're just flying in the air. Do that, thank you. Okay, whew, got up there. Let's not get too low on the thing this time. There we go. What? I missed the ramp entirely? You gotta be kidding me. I guess you're not supposed to trick off that. That's kind of bad design, though. If it's only tailored to the heaviest vehicles in the game. Alright, I think I'm gonna... Where do I want to use the bullet? Maybe here? Yes, he dodged me! Thank you, dude. I appreciate it. We are truly warriors for the content. That's what we are. Oh, we had a mushroom? That's crazy. Ow. Please don't squish me, god damn it. Some good that did, huh? Probably gonna use these mushrooms around this corner here. Somehow gained a position? I don't know how that happened. Okay. Hell, I'm gonna stick with this room. You know what? I think Woke CIA Drone Pilot touched upon something, not that I wanted to agree with, but tangential to something that I wanted to mention, which is that when they said that presidents have always been above the law in the United States, functionally, yes. But the important thing to note about that is that this is the first time that people have, that fascists have really capitalized on it, at least in a real sense. There's been the kind of limp dick historical inertia before, but The United States has actually never had one of those phases where it becomes fascist. Like for most countries' history, there are phases of like more left wing sentiment prevailing and more right wing sentiment prevailing, and it goes kind of like that. Most countries in Europe, during and after the Industrial Revolution, have had at least two cycles of like being in a very reactionary state of affairs, being either like Bonapartist or monarchist or fascist after having a revolution that advances certain social norms and economic norms, right? The US has never had that. We have never had, in the United States, there has never been a revolution. Now, a lot of people call the American Revolution a revolution, and for certain like metrics that academics would describe a revolution, it definitely is. It is a changing of the sort of propertied order of things, but it is more so a war for independence rather than a revolution, I would say. At least as we would sort of recognize revolutionary spirit today. Because the American founding fathers, the sort of propertied class that were like in charge after the Revolutionary War were the propertied class that was in charge everywhere else in Europe. They just no longer had a king to constrain them from pursuing their interests, right? Beyond that, America has actually never had a revolution where the property relations were overturned or upended, right? You know, the property relations that produced and thrived off of slavery are fundamentally still present today. You know? Meanwhile, countries in Europe have gone through several revolutions that altered the property relations of their countries. From like the Roman era to feudalism to whatever else, whatever they're like today. And I think that I guess it might just be a sign that the United States is kind of due for that, because the apathy that I mentioned has been accruing for so long that like you can't just have a country or a situation where nothing happens. That can't persist indefinitely. Eventually, somebody, fascist or otherwise, is going to come along and be like, hey, what if I did a thing? Could be good or bad. But in either case, the liberals usually aren't going to put up that much resistance. Now, in the case of the United States, because liberals are a more of a right-wing than a left-wing ideology at this point, the liberals put up more of a resistance to progressives and socialists than they do to fascists. But theoretically, you could have a world where this happens with socialists as well, where the liberals basically say, hey, you can't do that, but offer no meaningful resistance. You know? That's kind of their program, is no meaningful change. That's why Obama was so popular. He was the only liberal that said anything would change. Pretty much. I'm going to use these while I have them. I'm going to chain them here. Yeah. That's good, I think. I'd rather use those in maybe a suboptimal way rather than let somebody else get a shot at them. Okay, third place. Pretty good race. Yeah. I don't know. I after what I said yesterday, that might be all the juice I have left in me, unless somebody in the comments wants to, or chat wants to engage a little bit further on the subject. But I'm definitely, to describe my state of mind right now, I'm sort of not resigned, because resigned means that you're sort of like, well, I'm not going to do anything. No, I am going to do something. I'm going to continue to live and try to look for like non-electoral means of political engagement and stuff. But ultimately, at this point, I think I understand that there is no stopping the fascists because the liberals are very committed to not stopping the fascists, and we've sort of gone past the point of return. We've been past that point for decades at this juncture. I think as soon as the Clintonites took power, as soon as like the Blairites in the UK and the sort of austerity liberals here, the Clintonites took power. The fate of the world and of the any country where those people were in power was kind of sealed. And for sure, I blame Democrats for this more so than than I blame Republicans, because Republicans are the wildfire. The Democrats are the people whose job it is to put out the wildfire. You know, I expect the Republicans to be evil. With liberals, there's the occasional hope that maybe they do something that isn't like capitulating to the right, and they always disappoint on that front, of course. But you know. Ooh. Okay. That shit. I forgot where the shortcut was for this track. There's a shortcut at the end there that lets you, I think, jump out onto the grass a little bit early. God, son of a bitch. uh, this track is another one that I kind of hope gets removed from the pack at some point. It's very awkward, I think. What is the bullet doing, dude? Damn. Okay, I didn't actually hit him. Start using this. Also, on you. No, the answer is no. I already know what you're talking about. No solicitations in my chat, please. If you post another solicitation, you'll be permanently banned. Please consult the chat rules. No solicitations. Oh, pass some people? That'd be cool. One person. Seven players. This room seems to be diminishing in size somewhat. I might only go for an hour and a half today. To be honest, I don't have much energy to be doing this. Yeah. I'm really quite tired. Hopefully tomorrow will be a nice break of the pace for me. But, I kind of doubt it. Bowser's Castle. Okay. Let's get it. Let's actually, I will delete this message. There we go. Nice. Frees up the chat clutter. Now, the one advantage I'll have on this track for sure is that I can take every single turn probably tighter than the Funky Kongs can. This is a bad idea, but I'm going for it anyways. This is where I gain a shit ton of time on people. Ah, damn. I fucked up that part. Now, if there's a blue, I'm fucked. Just get rid of that. Have these. This is a lot more convenient. Ah, no. I thought I could outline him, but for some reason he just went super tight, super quick. Ow, damn it. I was racing so well, too. Alright, let's hope I gain some time on these guys. On these corners here. There we go. Oh, you gotta do what you gotta do. That guy's smurfing for sure. No way he's got 5,000 VR with how well he's driving. Or maybe not. Like I said, VR doesn't actually matter. Maybe that guy's just a 5,000 VR god gamer. And all these 9,000 VR chumps just can't compete. Hot dog? I see. Actually, scratch an hour and a half even. This might even be my last race. I like, the only thing I was really prepared to talk about today was the Supreme Court ruling, and I feel like I've talked about that as much as I can. Yeah, I will never forgive the Democrats for this. And when the Republicans take power, when they win, Do not let the Democrats gaslight you into believing that all it would have taken is voting for them, and it was actually the left and minorities' fault because you should have voted Democrat. Because that's what they're doing right now. They're blaming the left. They're blaming progressives. They're blaming young people. They're just deflecting blame, really. But ultimately, it is what it is. Yeah, that ramp. That ramp is a thing, huh? All right, let's see what's up. All right, we got some people. Hopefully I won't be sweating through my whole armpits in this room. I'm just going to do a quick one and done race with these guys, most likely. Assuming I race well, which hopefully I will. I think if I want to cap off the Supreme Court talk with anything, it's that for 40 years, there have been effectively no safeguards for democracy in the United States. Probably even longer than 40 years, if I'm being honest. And when that's the case, when you don't have any mechanism, or the Democratic Party at least isn't willing to use any available mechanism to stop the advance of fascism, you don't have a democracy. You have it until the Republicans say that actually you don't have it. This was ultimately pretty predictable. And this is why I'm a socialist, because it's like being historically literate and understanding long-standing and long-term political trends inevitably leads you to be more left-wing. At least if you're not an evil human being. It's actually perfect. Okay. Yeah. Get ready for the fascist United States. Because it's coming. It's coming. It's honestly kind of astounding that the Democrats, at least in name, support policies that are incredibly popular among the American people, and the Republicans support policies that are overwhelmingly unpopular with the American people. Stuff like removing the separation of church and state, getting rid of abortion protections and outlawing abortion, reinstituting child labor, banning like free school lunches and shit, and privatizing education. Like, None of this shit is popular. Nobody likes the actual policy positions that Republicans support. Least of all Republican electors or Republican voters, the voter base, because Republicans have a lot of rural and poor people who vote for them. The difference is that the Democratic Party is so incompetent at creating a narrative that all of the best like policy positions in the world can't do shit for you. I mean, it doesn't help that the Democrats don't actually believe in half of the stuff they say they support. But like the Republicans are so much more committed to weaving a narrative where there is some force that be that is trying to keep you down and we're trying to fight that force by doing X, Y, and Z. And the Democrats are completely unwilling to do that. They're unwilling to provide a positive vision for what America can be. This is what we will do. This is what we want to do in broad terms, in like almost theatrical terms. They all act like neoliberal policy wonks, like nerds. Nobody likes that. That doesn't resonate with anybody, and that doesn't play well for the cameras. So Democrats lose. And of course, Democrats like they don't consider the possibility of them having to play to win, because to them it's like self-evident what they're talking about. It's dumb. They just don't, the Democrats just don't understand politics as a product of the ideology of liberalism that they are. They think that like history has ended and they are just universally acknowledged as the best way of doing things, which is not how that works. Anyway, that's all I've got for this stream. I don't know if I'm going to rate anybody. Maybe I will. Maybe. Yeah, not today. Cody's playing Ultimate, so go watch Cody Schwab if you want, but I'm not a fan of watching Ultimate online. So, I'll see you guys next time.